Hi, welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Q&A session. I call it Game of Thrones Q&A, but I'll be covering other topics as well, but mainly Game of Thrones. I'll just start out with a fair warning. I have had problems in the past with Google Hangout. Sometimes it crashes my computer. So if I disappear, have no fear, I will return. It will just, hopefully that doesn't happen. It doesn't crash my computer. But if it does, just hang on. Hopefully I'll be able to go back to the same video and I won't have to just start a totally different video to do that, because that would kind of suck. All right, so I just thought I'd do a sort of one-on-one Q&A session just to sort of give my opinions more on some things that you might want to know about. So we'll start off. See, I have a list of questions that people submitted already. I think I got about 8. And I'm also going to ask myself questions that nobody actually asked me about, just because I want to talk about it here. And if anyone, I don't think there's anyone in the chat at the moment, but if anyone joins the chat and they want to ask a question, then I'll address that as well. So let me start out with the question nobody asked me, but I'll just answer anyway, is how I came up with the name Enchantment of Eternity for the channel. Okay, so I started this channel back in 2010, and originally I just got the idea to do Star Trek episode top 10s. So I did one for the original series, one for Next Generation, because it's something I've always done growing up, made these little top 10 episodes favorite. It's just gone through so many iterations through the years, my favorite Star Trek episodes. It was like my pastime to do that. So when YouTube came out, I was like, hey, it's a perfect chance to actually do it so other people see it. But I wasn't that serious about it. So I did original series, Next Generation, and then I was like, a year later, I finally got around to doing Deep Space Nine. Like, I kept putting it off. But after that, I just totally forgot about the whole thing and got too busy doing all these other things. I totally neglected my YouTube channel altogether. And back then, it was called Senator Vreenak's Episode Top 10 Reviews, because it was my original plan to do like episode top 10s for all these shows like Lost, Breaking Bad, Stargate, X-Files. Some of them I've done already. Some of them I'm still planning on doing. But anyway, that was my original focus for the Ching, and I just called it Senator Vreenak, who is a character from a Deep Space Nine episode, one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes, in the Pale Moonlight, because that was my username at the time. So years later, 2 years after I did my Deep Space Nine thing, I kept thinking, well, I should, because I kept getting comments on the videos. In my original series, top 10 got about like 5,000, 6,000 views. So I thought, well, I should actually, and then people were subscribing to my channel, which baffled me because I wasn't putting out any new content, and I had like 50 subscribers or something. So I was like, all right, well, I should actually do something with this because people are actually watching it. But the problem is that Google Plus, like YouTube had joined Google Plus, and in that move, they sort of changed the name of my channel to my actual name, because they do that thing. So it was now, the name of the channel was no longer Senator Vreenak, it was my name, and I didn't want it to be my name because I thought that was silly. So I was sort of postponing for a while because I was trying to get this sorted out. I was watching all these how to do videos and stuff to try to change the name, and I finally figured out the only way to do it, other than to start a new channel, which I didn't want to do because I wanted to keep the videos that I had. The only way to do it was to email Google and have them do it for you. So eventually I did that. So it was time for me to come up with a new name for my channel. And at this point, like, I had decided to do Game of Thrones reviews, episode reviews as well. This was in the middle of season 4 was airing. So I thought, I see other people doing, their episode reviews of Game of Thrones, and I kind of disagreed with a lot, or I had my own take on things I wanted to. So I thought that would be a cool thing to do as well. So since I was doing Game of Thrones and Star Trek mainly. I wanted the name of the channel to reflect science fiction and fantasy. Also, like all the names I kept thinking of were names of other characters that already existed, like Yoda, Robb Stark, or John Locke. And I thought that's silly. That's stupid. I don't want to name my channel off of somebody else's work. I thought it would be much better to name the channel after my own work. So, just Armin Tarz. What was it? Armin Tamzarian. Armin Tamzarian says, "Hi, I love your videos. Thank you. That's good to say." And I recognize that name, by the way. That's Principal Skinner's like real name in that episode that everyone hated. But anyway, as I was saying, so I decided to base the name off of my channel off of my own work. So I had written some short stories in the late 2000s. Some of them got published in really, really minor non-paid magazines. That's not even worth mentioning. But anyway, that was sort of a hobby. So I thought I'd base the name of my channel off of my own works. So there was one story I wrote called Life of Enchantment, and there was another story I wrote called Welcome to Eternity. So I thought I'd take blend of those together and just call it Enchantment of Eternity. And enchantment sort of represents the fantasy because it has connotations of fantasy, and eternity represents science fiction. So it's just my roundabout way to say fantasy science fiction using my own personal works rather than what somebody else did. And that's how I came up with my name. And so eventually, so at first it was supposed to be about episode top 10s, but the Game of Thrones videos kind of took off when I started doing season 5 prediction videos, because I was reading A Dance with Dragons, A Feast for Crows for the first time. And as I was reading them, I kept thinking about how is this going to translate to the TV show? I wonder how the show is going to do it. So I came up with all these ideas on how the show would do it. So I thought, why don't I make a video about that? And I did. And that video was hugely popular. It got me most of my subscribers. So from then on, I decided to focus mainly on Game of Thrones videos and do more prediction videos, a few theory videos. And the theory videos really took off. So I did that. But I still want to do like other reviews, TV shows, and Star Trek, even those videos hardly get any views. See, if I was just doing it for the money, if I'm all about like money grabber, I would just be like pumping out Game of Thrones theory videos constantly week to week, because those are the ones that get me the most views. But I'm not in it like for the money. I'm in it for a hobby to do what I want to do and talk what I want to talk about. Every once in a while, I like talking about Game of Thrones theories, but I'm just not that kind of guy who thinks about it constantly. And I would kind of get tired of just doing Game of Thrones theory. So I want to talk about other things like Star Trek, Mr. Robot, anything, even though they don't get many views, whatever. I'll just do that. So yes, that was a quick, brief history of my channel that nobody asked for. Oh yes, and let's see, 528AD10 says, hi, really enjoy your prediction videos. Keep going at the good work. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now let me get to the actual questions that people sent in rather than making it my own questions. So first question is from Kevin Dupai, I think is how you say that. If you're not familiar with my channel, you may not know I'm horrible at pronouncing people's names. I probably butchered so many names in the past, so please don't hold it against me if I butcher your name. But anyway, Kevin Dupai, I think it is, asked, do you think dragon riders are set in stone, or will it be fluid? Meaning that there will be more than one per dragon, like a character dying and being replaced as a dragon rider, like in A Song of Ice and Fire history. So the quick answer to that would have to be yes. I do think, no, sorry, they're not set in stone. I think that they are fluid. I think they're kind of permanent for a temporary basis, if that makes any sense. So if like Daenerys is Drogon's rider, so I think I've heard it said, and I agree with this, that the other two dragons whose name escape me, I'm not very good at pronouncing those names, they, like Dany can't be their rider because she's Drogon's rider. So I think, like, for the time being, Dany's the writer. But if Dany were to die, which I don't think will happen, but hypothetically, if she were to die, then I think Drogon could get another life, just like Valerian the Black Dread has had many writers before uh, Aegon the Conqueror. So I think it's a same sort of deal, but it's not like they would switch out constantly. Like if Dany's around, they're not going to just trade off and take place. Dany would be accustomed to the dragon, but if she were to die, then someone else could become accustomed to the dragon, which I think is pretty good to think about, because I think that actually might happen. Because if, the three dragons come together in Meereen, at the moment, Dany is the only rider, so the other two will need riders. And my prediction, of course, as everyone knows, is that I think Jon Snow and Tyrion will be the other two riders. And let's say, for the sake of argument, even though a lot of people would disagree with this, let's just say for the sake of argument, Tyrion becomes the rider of the other dragon because he's there in Meereen. But Jon Snow isn't, and it was probably going to be a really long time before he ever meets them. So I think it's very possible somebody else could become the temporary rider of the dragon, like, let's say, Dario, even though that's another long shot. Let's just say that Dario becomes, but then eventually Dario dies, and then Jon Snow takes over for him. So something like that could happen, which I think could possibly be the case. Okay, so more in the chat. The Vintage Guitarist says, hello, long-time listener, first-time caller. Really enjoy your theories and reviews. Thank you so much. And Don Willie, good friend of mine, have done a couple of discussion videos before. He has his own quality channel, so just wanted to stop in and say hi. Cool. Hello. And then, yes, Ermin Tamzarian, going to get this right the first time, says Rhaego and Visignon. Probably spelled wrong, and I probably pronounced it wrong anyway. So are those the other two dragons, Rhaego? Was Rhaego one of the dragons? Or am I pronouncing that wrong? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. You'll tell me in the chat. Anyway, so let's move on to the next question, which is from Marie Hill, who says, 2 questions. 1, do you think Jon will become King of the North? And 2, will grayscale play a part in defeating the others and the whites? They may not have an immune system. Thanks. Okay, so let's tackle the first one. Will Jon become King of the North? So if you've seen my prediction videos, my season 6 prediction videos, and my How Game of Thrones Will End video, I said in those that I did not think Jon would become King of the North. I think he's going to focus more on the White Walkers and their threat, and he's not going to want that responsibility, that privilege. I think his reaction to Stannis when Stannis offered him king, to be king in the North, like, I think there's strategic reasons he turned that down, because he would have to permanently ally himself with Stannis, and if Stannis failed, he'd be connected to that. So that might have played a part in why he turned it down, but I think the bigger reason of why he turned it down is because he doesn't, he's gotten over of seeing himself as a Stark and wanting to be a Stark and wanting to be King of the North. I know that this may change after his death, but which I say, like, he's no longer going to be involved in Night's Watch, and I permanently believe this, and we know from filming rumors, and hopefully if you're watching this, you don't care about hearing about filming spoilers for season 6, because I'm going to just give them all away. But we know from that Jon Snow will be fighting against Ramsay Bolton, so on behalf of the Starks. So some people may think that he's fighting to become King of the North, but I still, even though he's not aligned with the Night's Watch anymore and is fighting for the Starks, I think his ultimate goal is to rally the North together to fight the White Walkers. I think that's, and this is something my brother Abkin Tomko agreed with me on, he kind of came up with this, that is why Jon Snow wants to defeat the Boltons, rally the North, is so they can defeat the White Walkers. So I think that's going to be his primary thought, and he's not going to want to be King of the North. So if someone tries to make him King of the North, I think he's going to turn it down. In the books, there was this whole thing with this letter where Robb Stark legitimized Jon Snow, and it's still out there. Apparently, there's a lot of theories on where it is. First off, in the show has done nothing to set this up, so I don't think the show's going to start now. I don't think this letter exists in the show. But as for the books, what I think is going to come of it is maybe will be found, and some factions and some people will try to legitimize Jon Snow and make him King of the North, but he's going to turn it down. He's going to reject it. I just don't think that it's something that he really wants to do. So I think Rickon is gonna. That was my prediction, that Rickon was going to be King of the North. Although I know there's a lot of theories out there that he's going to die in season 6. I've heard some spoilers that highly suggest this is going to happen, although they're not very reliable. So I don't know if it's true. I'm still holding out hope that he isn't going to die. But hypothetically, if he were to, I think Sansa would become queen, not Jon Snow. Although that kind of fucks with my Sansa become queen of Westeros theory, which is why I'm hoping Rickon is going to still be alive, because that makes the most sense for me, that Rickon becomes king of the North and Jon is just the soldier fighting against the White Walkers, and he has bigger fish to fry. Now, before I get to the second part of that question, let me just see what's going on in the chat. Rhaegal. Okay, that sounds familiar. I think that's right. I'm probably still pronouncing it wrong, but probably a bit closer, says Tyrion Lannister. And the Vintage Guitarist says, do you think there will ever be any actual ramifications for the Stark children whose direwolves died, lady? I think, at least in the books, the show is a big question mark, but at least in the books, I think the only ramification is that Sansa doesn't become a warg. I think the others, Arya, Bran, Rickon, Jon Snow, will all become wargs, and they all connect with their direwolves. Even Arya, I think, will reconnect with Nymeria at some point, and they're all sort of. I am predicting it will happen in the show, but there's nothing to indicate it's going to happen in the show either, so I still don't know. But I don't think there will be any other dire consequences to Sansa. I think it just means Sansa's going to miss out on being a warg, because even though they don't need that particular direwolf to become a warg, to be a warg, I think, because Bran, of course, is branching out and warging into many other things, and Arya working to a cat and all this stuff. But I think that was their end into it. And I think because Lady died when Sansa was still too young and didn't really too early to make this warg connection, that she'll never become a warg. So I think that will be the consequence of that. Okay, so let me get to the second part of Marie Hill's question, which is, will grayscale play a part in defeating the others and whites? They may not have an immune system. I'm going to say no. And that's just my theory. That's just my shot in the dark. That's my guess. Because, first of all, I don't think grayscale will have an effect on whites. I mean, they don't have an immune system, but they're not really alive. They're reanimated dead. So I think grayscale will do nothing to the whites. White walkers, or others, as you say, possibly could have effect on it. But maybe not, because they are a different race that might have a sort of different makeup. But it's possible that grayscale can affect them. But do I think it will happen? No, I don't. Because mainly, and I went over this in my how it will end update video, is my predictions for grayscale is it's going to fuck King's Landing up. It's going to kill a lot of people. That King's Landing is going to turn into a grayscale colony. And that's what they're setting. That's what they're doing with the whole grayscale thing, excuse me. So, like, I don't think it's going to affect all of Westeros. I don't think there's going to be a huge outbreak of grayscale in Westeros. It's going to kill. I think it's just going to be King's Landing. King's Landing, as I said in my update, how Game of Thrones will end, the update video, I think King's Landing is going to be obliterated. All these different forces, Ironborn, freaking Faith Militant, Daenerys in the show and Aegon in the books, all these different forces will clash at King's Landing and just destroy it, and then grayscale will break out, and it will just be a little ruin with not much left. And what is left will become a grayscale colony. That's my prediction, though. It's just, I have nothing to back this up. This wild guess, but that's my sort of thinking on it at the time. Okay. Hold on. All right, so let's see. Allison Fordyce asks, I probably pronounced that wrong, but she asks, just a little personal theory with no clear evidence to back it. Starks are to direwolves as Targaryens are to dragon. In both cases, the animal are much more than pets. I totally agree. I think, yeah, as I was saying with the Starks not becoming wargs is because they need the direwolves as a sort of in, and it's much more than just pets. Definitely they have a spiritual connection with their animals, and even though Bran's going to warg into other animals and other people, Summer is always going to be the closest to him. It's always going to be his biggest end. Okay, and Tyrion Lannister says, do you think we'll ever find out what happened to Benjen on the show? Seems like they forgot about him. I sure as fuck hope so. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to say it in the books, but I'm a bit less sure about the show, and here's why. Because in the show, like when they were doing season 1, I don't think they knew a lot about where they were going, and a lot of people involved in TV said this, when you do a TV show, you more or less do it with the assumption there will never be a second season, because apparently getting renewed for more seasons is rare and it's a hard thing to do. So when you're making a season 1, that's all you're thinking about. So I think that's what Dan and Dave were doing. It wasn't until season 2 that they're like, oh, okay, this is when they knew it was a popular thing, it was going to keep going. We have to make our plans on how we're going to pan out for the rest of the series, which is why they said apparently in season 2 is when they came up with the idea to take Sansa to take Jane Pole's place. Apparently they came up with this idea way back in season 2, and I think season 2 is when they started branching out and coming up with more things, whereas season 1 they followed the book, like they didn't really know what they were doing. They even said it was the first time they're doing the show, so I think they just reverted to following the book. So I think there's a lot of things in season 1 that weren't planned ahead, and so would be abandoned because they were just following the book too closely. And unfortunately, it's possible that Benjen Stark is one of those things, and the show would just forget about it. But I'm really hoping that's not the case. I hope that the show does follow up on it. And it's possible. It is possible that the show will follow up on it. Hold on, let me just turn my phone off so it doesn't interrupt me. All right, let's see what else people are saying in the chat. What else we get? And I think Chrisier, if I'm pronouncing that right, Chrisier555, do you agree with the guys over at the Game of Thrones Academy who recently said there will be no Azor Ahai? Yes and no. I liked that video. That was a pretty good video, by the way. But what I think, and this is what I kind of said in my last theory update video, because my first How Game of Thrones Will End video, I said, oh, this is going to be Azor Ahai, and that person's going to be 3 heads, and this person's going to be that. But I don't think it's ever going to be explicitly explained who Azor Ahai is. So that kind of goes along with what GOT Academy was saying, because they were saying they think it's kind of like a made-up prophecy, if I remember, or just a prophecy people are throwing out there. I think that's going to be open to interpretation. I think at the end of the series, some people there will still be theories. There'll still be, after everything's said and done, there'll still be people arguing, oh, Jon Snow was Azor Ahai. No, I think Daenerys is Azor Ahai. And the other people, no, there was no Azor Ahai. I think it will not be explicitly explained. So all these theory videos, like the one about Jorahs, don't get me started on that one. That's totally disagree with that. But anyway, all these theory videos, this person's Azor Ahai, that person's Azor Ahai. I agree with Game of Thrones Academy that these people are barking up the wrong tree. That it is not going, you're not going to get a specific answer on who Azor Ahai is. I think it's just going to be completely unanswered and open to interpretation. Okay. So, okay, Tyrion thinks that Martin will add closure. Not sure about Dan and Dave. Now, I'm kind of on the mind with something as big as Azor Ahai that the show and the books would be the same. That's just my thinking on it, though. And Allison Fordyce says, after the fan reaction to the ending of The Sopranos, I don't think HBO will ever make the mistake of leaving a series with an ambiguous ending again, not least I hope. To a degree. Like, I don't think they're going to go as ambiguous as Sopranos, but if you're talking about HBO, I don't know if you should watch The Leftovers with Damon Lindelof. That's super ambiguous, and that's on HBO. So obviously that's not going to apply to all the shows. Maybe a show as huge as Game of Thrones, because Leftovers isn't huge as Game of Thrones, but with Leftovers, nothing's going to be answered. So I don't think that's really a consideration. But I do think that, the Game of Thrones will have a pretty it's going to be wrapped up. I mean, there might be a few open-ended things like who Azor Ahai is and all that, but those won't be like huge. It won't be like a Sopranos or a Lost or anything where you don't know what the fuck's going on and they didn't answer anything. I think they will tie everything up in a small boat, but there will be a few things, I think, like prophecies, because that's the same kind of thing that Martin's a bit iffy about, prophecies that aren't going to be answered specifically. Let's see. And then Alison Fortes said, by the way, it's Fordyce. Thanks for reading my comment. Oh, it's Fordyce. Okay, gotcha. So Alison Fordyce. All right. Yeah, really bad at pronouncing people's names. Apologize for that. Okay, so let's get into the next question, which is from Armin Tamzarian. Got that right? Okay, so do you think there is any chance that Dany's baby, Rhaego, did actually survive and was taken by a Dothraki? I'm only asking because no one other than Mirri Maz Duur claims to have seen him, and there's no burial or funeral fire for him. He just disappeared. Where's his body? As Mirri claimed there that he never lived, but Dany clearly has moments where she feels him move inside her. Yeah, I'm going to say no. I mean, I think that's an interesting theory. I think it's a possibility. I'm not saying that no way, you're definitely wrong. I'm not saying that. I think you make some pretty good points. But if I had to guess, I would say they're kind of moving past that. And she has going to have a different fate. But I'm not closed off to that theory. I think that's a good theory. It's a good possibility. I just personally don't think it's going to go that way. Okay, so Alison Fordyce, I hope I said it right this time, says, fair enough, but the whole point of The Leftovers seems to be putting the audience in the same position as the characters who lack any real answers about the departure. True, but the same could be said of Game of Thrones, because maybe none of the characters will know who Azor Ahai is, or there'll be different opinions within the characters in the universe on who Azor Ahai is, like there is now. And so if that's the case, then it would translate to the audience in the same way. Okay, and then Chriser555 says, thoughts on the White Walker's motives? A lot of people are guessing that it's not as simple as they're just evil because George R. R. Martin is usually more complex, and I tend to agree with that thinking. I think my brother Epkin Tomko has a lot. He has some theories he goes into a bit more depth in his videos about his theories on what the White Walker's motive is. Like he has this whole theory about a treaty that was that ended the long night, the first long night, and that something happened that upset the treaty. And I think a lot of people said this, and there's some theories that maybe it's because dragons were brought to Westeros when Aegon came to Westeros, and that broke the theory and treaty, even though that was like 300 years ago. It just took them a long time to actually wake up. Or the rebirth of Dany's dragons maybe compound that. I don't know. Or there could be other things that the treaty broke. I like those theories, but I don't really have any strong theories on my own about this subject. I mean, I do think that they aren't just played evil, that there is more to them than that, and that they do have some tangible, understandable motives. That being said, I don't think they're the good guys. And I kind of disagree with my brother on this because he thinks that they're just another army. Like Starks versus Lannisters, there's really no good or evil. They're just two different people, and the White Walkers are just another army. Where I would compare the White Walkers more to Joffrey or Ramsay. Like they're realistic, they're complex, but they're kind of fucked up, and what they want is no good for the overall people. Because especially after watching Hardhome, when you see all the whites like just ripping people apart and killing them, these aren't just. These guys do have a hint of evil, but I think it's realistic evil, kind of like Joffrey or Ramsay. Okay, so Arnett, I know I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Sorry in advance. Taylor. Oh, fuck, I'm not even going to try. Taya Lion. I think Lone. Fuck me. I'm so bad at pronouncing names. Anyway, this person asks, do you believe the theory that Aerys was right and they were plotting to overthrow him? I'm not sure what. Oh, I think you're referring to like. Does this get back into like the Maester theories where the Maesters are plotting they were plotting to overthrow him? I mean, he was right in a sense, like his own son, like Rhaegar, apparently, or what he claims anyway, was going to call another great council to try to oust him. But I know that's not what he was thinking about. He wasn't worried about Rhaegar. He was worried about other people. And I think these other people just, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was mainly just Rhaegar. Maybe there was some sort of plot, but I think Robert's rebellion was something totally different and something that spur of the moment didn't really have to do anything about that. Okay. So the same person. Also, any thoughts on the Night Fort and whether or not the original Night's Watch sacrificed to the others? To be honest, I'm not very educated on this. I've watched Alt Shift X video on the Night Fort, and as you can see, I did the Aegon's Lessons of Aegon's Conquest video. If you've seen that video, you know there are parts of that video, of Alt Shift X video, that I strongly disagree with, and I think he's being condescending in that particular area. But overall, I like his theories with the Night Fort, and that it did have some significance during the long night, but I don't really have any theories of my own about that. I'll just say that. So the Venge's guitarist, hopefully the Walker's motives aren't the same as Sauron's. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that they are. Yeah, and I said this in my other video. But just because they're not the same as Sauron's doesn't mean they can't be evil to a degree like Joffrey or Ramsay, is what I'm saying. All right, so let me get to the next question. Christina the Sphinx Turner asks, do you think we'll ever see Aegon in the show? And if not, does that mean he's not important for the book storyline? I really want him to be real and one of the three heads of the dragons. Okay, so again, if you've seen some of my videos, like I think I said this in my season 6 videos, and I said this in my How It Will End video, that I don't think that Aegon's going to be in the show. No, I definitely think he's left out. I think Dany is going to get to Westeros earlier than she does in the books, so she can take his place. Just like Jorah. I think the fact that Jorah's gotten grayscale that was the last, because I already thought Aegon wasn't going to be in the show, but when Jorah got grayscale, I think that's the last nail in the coffin that hit it. Definitely not going to be in the show, even though that's John Connington, not Aegon. But still, if it's not doing John Connington, I don't think doing Aegon, because I think they will have Dany take their place, and Jorah is going to take John Connington's place. That's why I said I think they're going to be involved in the King's Landing kerfuffle in the show, but not the books. So I do think Aegon's being left out, but that doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have a part to play in the books. I think he does have a part to play in the books, and it's going to be much bigger. Well, obviously bigger in the show, because the show's not even going to have it. But I think he still has stuff to do in the books, but I think they're mainly going to be in Winds of Winter. I do think he's a Blackfyre. I don't think he's a Targaryen. And I think he's going to die in the Winds of Winter, or possibly towards the beginning of Dream of Spring. But I think he still has a big part to play in the books, but not for the end game. I think it's more the immediate future. I think he's going to play a major part, but the show's just going to have Daenerys take that part instead. And of course, again, this is just my wild theories on the matter. Hold on, just bear with me 1 second. Really want him to be one of the three heads. And yeah, that's the other thing. I don't want him to be a Targaryen. I'm hoping he's a Blackfyre because I want him to be a Blackfyre, because I don't know. Some people notice I'm a bit of a Daenerys fan. I'm not huge on her. But regardless of that, I think it pissed me off in the books how they all of a sudden, in the 5th book, introduce someone who has a better claim than Daenerys when we've been following Daenerys all this freaking time. So the concept of Aegon kind of pisses me off. But if he was a Blackfyre, then it wouldn't piss me off, because, that makes more sense. He's a Blackfyre and this has to do with something else. And if that is the case, that would make a good reason why the show is leaving it out, because the show's condensing things, and the Blackfyre storyline, it's just another thing that I think they're not going to do. It would be too much of a sidestep, and they want to focus more on the end game. So I think that's why the show left him out, and they're just going to have someone else take his place. Okay, so other questions in the chat. Chrisser, I probably keep doing this wrong. I'm going to do everyone's name wrong, so just don't feel singled out. But Chrisser555, do you trust Dan and Dave? Yeah, I do. A lot more than most people, especially book fans. I'm not going to call them book purists, because it's not just a book purist, but a lot of people who prefer the books, I'll say it that way. Just, hey, Dan and Dave, don't trust them. I mean, that's something I think that makes my channel and Napkin Taco's channel stand out a little bit, because we're always sort of, I wouldn't say defenders of the show, because it's funny. I did this review on episode 10 of season 5, Mother's Mercy, and that I was very negative about that episode, because basically all these things like Sansa, wedding night scene and all this other stuff that people were complaining about earlier in the series, I was reserving judgment until I saw the whole season before I made judgment on those. But when we got the final episode, I let it all fly. So when you watch that review, I come off as a book purist because I kept saying, oh, the book does it better. The book did it better. This sucks. And in fact, I just got a comment on that video, because that video, for some reason, YouTube decided to promote the fuck out of it. So it was one of my highest viewed videos now, which I don't know why. My other episode reviews didn't get that high. But anyway, I just got a comment on that video just today saying, fuck the books. So I'm not that far. I'm not fuck the books. That's a bit weird. But on the other hand, I'm a lot more sort of lenient with Dan and Dave than a lot of other YouTubers are. I know they can fuck up, like Dorne. No excuse for Dorne. And again, I let them have it. Like in that episode review for Mother's Mercy, I let them have it for all the mistakes I thought they did in adapting the books wrong. So I'm not a kiss ass to Dan and Dave. I let them have it when I think they fuck up. Well, that being said, I think people are too hard on them. I think because I don't know if you know this about me, but I've been to film school and I've made a couple of like sort of minor fuck all films, and I've been involved in some other. I actually have a IMDb page because I was the sound editor for a short film that got into a couple of festivals. But anyway, I've worked in the film industry. I worked in the writing, well, not in the real film industry, but just fucking around. Because I never really got paid for it. It's not like I make money off it. But anyway, I studied this. I know in script writing, I studied a lot of script writing, so I know the difficulties of adapting a book to film. And I think a lot of people just don't understand all the because a lot of people are like, I don't understand why they made this change. And I do for the most part. For the most part, like I said, I let them have it when I think they fucked up. But I think other people just don't understand the process. Like I was telling you, I wrote a short story called Life of Enchantment. I made that into a short film last year, and I'm actually trying to submit that to festivals. I'm thinking of maybe just scrapping it and just putting it on my YouTube channel and trying to promote it that way. But anyway, that was adapted from a short story I wrote, and it's completely, totally different. Hypothetically speaking, if that short story was a huge hit and lots of people loved it, and I came in and adapted it the way I did, and if I was someone else other than the author, I get tons of people fucking yelling at me, hating me. Oh, I can't believe you did this. It's nothing like you ruined it. But I mean, in that case too, I had to worry about budgets because I had practically no budget, and you need like $1 billion budget to film the short story that I had envisioned. So I personally understand the difficulties in adapting because they're totally different formats from book to show. So yes. There's a long-winded way of saying yes, I do trust Dan and Dave for the most part. I think I'm not 100% sure that they won't totally fuck it up. I think it's very possible that they could, but I'm trusting that they don't. In fact, I think that's slightly some of the differences. If you watch Abkin Tomka, my brother's season 6 predictions, it's some of the noticeable difference, particularly with Sansa, is that I have more faith in Dan and Dave. At least I think I do than he did, because he predicted they would totally make Sansa's season 5 storyline completely worth it. He even said he hoped that's not the case, but he thinks it will be the case, where I have a bit more faith in Dan and Dave, and I think they'll make her season 5 storyline mean something and actually do something with it. And maybe I'm being blind after the fucking blunder with Dorne, but anyway. Back to the next question. Do you, the White Wolf of Stark, do you think we'll see more Valyrian steel swords on the show? Maybe. We might see one or two. I think we'll definitely see a lot more in the books than we will in the show. I don't think the show is going to be too hard on that. I mean, maybe it's going to play a part with the White Walkers. There might be a thing with them. Once, say, hypothetically, if Westeros bands together to fight against the White Walkers, then maybe they will collect the Valyrian steel swords in order to fight them. But other than that, not really. Okay, vintage guitarist. Not sure if you touch on this, but what do you think is going to happen with Mira Reed in the next season? Well, you are jumping the gun. You're going to have to wait till I get to my season 6 prediction video for Bran, and I'm also going to touch on her in another video, so you will have to wait for that. Anders Ingard, I think probably get this wrong, said, I think D&D have good intentions for the most part, but I often think they rush things pretty badly. Did anyone proofread that Ramsay versus Yara scene? Well, to be fair, that was the episode was written by Brian Cogman, but still, same sort of deal. And he kind of, if you watch the commentary for that, he defended that episode, that fight scene. And I'm just like, no. So yeah, D&D definitely capable of blunders, no doubt. Dorne, fucking Brienne standing around watching in a tower. Oh, fuck that. Fuck that shit. So they're not perfect by any means. That being said, I think people are a bit too hard on them. Okay, so let's get to the next question from Johnny Harrison. I don't think I've ever heard your thoughts on Cold Hands, so who do you think he is, and do you think he's going to be important in the future books? Uh, I don't know who he is. I don't think he's anyone that we know, actually. I fell out. I was all on board with the whole he's Benjamin Stark theory at first, but I kind of fell out on that when apparently there was this editor's notes or something on Dance with Dragons, and they asked, "Is this Cold Hands?" And there's something written in, supposedly from George R. R. Martin, that says no. Some people, like my brother, they don't buy that. They think that could just be bullshit. That doesn't necessarily mean that George actually said that. But I'm actually taking that to mean it. I mean, I don't begrudge him. I don't think he's wrong, or anyone else out there who thinks this means nothing. I don't think they're wrong necessarily. He could be right. I could be wrong. But I am sort of taking that as a sign that Cold Hands isn't Benjamin. I think Cold Hands is going to be, it's not any mythical figure, not any specific person that we know of. It's just going to be revealed to be, I don't know, some kind of servant of the three-eyed raven, and maybe he was a white walker or even a white that was somehow magically enhanced by the three-eyed raven or sort of sequestered by him. I think he might appear more in the books. I don't think he's going to have a really major role in terms of in-game, but I do think we will see him again in the books, but not in the show. I think the show sort of bypassing him altogether. All right, so let's see. Christopher555, do you think Peter Baelish will succeed in getting whatever it is he actually wants? Well, if you watched my How Game of Thrones Will End update video, actually both of my How Game of Thrones Will End, I don't think he will. Well, no, because I think he'll get what he wants to a degree. Like, I think he's going to keep getting what he wants, and he's going to fuck some shit up. Like I mentioned, there's going to be a big clusterfuck in King's Landing, is my theory. I think he's mostly going to set that up. He's going to succeed for a while and get a lot of what he wants and come close to becoming the ultimate ruler. But I do think Sansa will defeat him ultimately. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Sansa's an idiot. She can never defeat Littlefinger," but that's what make it so good because you couldn't see it coming. So that's what I think will ultimately happen. Christopher555 says, "P.S. I'd love to see a movie." Cool. I'm being a bit picky with this because I think I'm going to edit it. I think I need to edit the sound a bit. And I was thinking about submitting it to festivals, and if that happens, I won't be able to put it up online because once it's up online, festivals won't take it. But I might just give up on this movie because it was rushed and the script was a bit rushed, but I still think it's really good, maybe not festival good, so I might put it up on YouTube, promote the fuck out of it, and then later try to get more money to do another movie proper. Also, I do have 4 movies I've done in the past up on my YouTube channel already. They're under short films. I don't really promote them. If you go into the film playlist, there's a playlist for short films. 2 of them were in the 48-hour festival, so that is what it sounds like. You have 48 hours to make a movie, so they're not very good because 48 hours is fuck all time. Plus, they give you parameters, like they give you a genre you have to do. Like the first one I did was found footage, and I fucking hate found footage movies, but I had to do one because that was the genre I got, so it's not very good. So 2 of them were that. One was one I did 3 years ago, so it's not very good. It's, well, no, more like, 3 years ago. So it was before I got more sort of skilled with filmmaking, and it was still good. I think it's the best out of the 4 I have on there. And then the other one was a student project, which I'm probably not supposed to put on the internet, but fuck them, which kind of blundered because a lot of people didn't give a fuck. They're just doing it because they're students and they had to. But I still kind of like the script. Okay, so The White Wolf of Stark. When do you think we will get the first trailer for season 6? My guess would be late January, early February. If it's still not certain, like whether or not Game of Thrones is being delayed. Some people wanted me to talk about this already, but we don't actually know whether or not it's being delayed till May because the official statement hasn't been made yet. People are just guessing that it's being delayed. But if it is the case that it's being delayed till May, then I don't think we will get the trailer till like February. So that kind of depends. But even if it isn't, even if it's still April, then I think it's going to be January, late January, like last year. Like season 4, we got like 5 trailers. And in season 5, we got 2 trailers. This year, I think we're only going to get 1, and it's going to be very vague because they are being super secretive about season 6, or trying to be anyway. Like D&D is still denying that Jon Snow is going to be alive in season 6, which is, anyone who fucking reads the internet knows that isn't true. Like freaking Mason Williams at the Emmys award said flat out, Jon Snow is dead. People were telling you he was alive, that they're lying. She's full of shit. And so anyway, I don't think we'll see Jon Snow in the trailer for season 6 because I think they're still going to try to deny this. And I think we're only going to get 1 trailer and they're going to be super secretive about it. This is my thinking of it. So Don the Kraken Wit. Oh, hey, how's it going? Asks, when, where, how, and in what capacity will we meet Helen Reed in the books? Oh, fuck. That's a hard one. Sorry, I can't even take a crack at that. I'm really curious to find this out myself. I'm curious to hear other people's theories on this, actually. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I don't really know. I'm really puzzled about that one. Okay, so Corey Link, which dragon will be the first to die? That's a sad question. I don't want the dragons to die. Of course, I did predict that they would die, so I do think that they will. Well, I predicted that Tyrion would be the first dragon rider to die. So whichever dragon he's riding. It's not Drogon. That's Vicinal, I think. I can't pronounce his name, but that one. I'll go with that one. Okay, so okay. All right, so let me get to the next question. It's from John Swarbick or Swarby. What do you think of the leaked script plotline, probably fake but still sounds good, that a horn blows at the end of season 6 and the wall cracks, and most characters in Westeros can hear that horn? Thanks. Okay, so first off, those leaked scripts, not probably fake, definitely fake. I'll get into that a bit later. But as for the horn blowing and breaking down the wall, I don't think that will happen at the end of season 6. I think that's a bit early. And plus, like, I do think in the show, the White Walkers are going to find some way to circumvent the wall. There's going to be, it doesn't necessarily mean that the wall comes down, but there's some way. I know a lot of people really pushing for that wall to come down, and it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't think that's the way they're going to go with it in the show. I think they're just going to find some other way to circumvent the wall. Because the show has done absolutely nothing to set up the horns. I know I said about wargs, my Arya predictions videos, I said the show's done nothing to set up wargs except for Rickon. I know a lot of people called that, other than Bran in Rickon at one time, to set up that the Starks can warg. But I still think they're going to introduce it later, even though they have had no setup for it. So it's possible they could do the same thing with the horns, but I don't think they will. That's just my thinking of it. I don't think they'll ever introduce any horns or anything. Yeah. Okay, so in the chat, the White Wolf of Stark, do you think the show will do ice spiders? Yes. Fucking yes. They better. All right, that's more of a wishful thinking because I don't know that they will. It kind of thinks that if they were going to do ice spiders, we would have seen them at Hardhome because we saw the White Walkers riding horses. So if they're going to ride ice spiders, you think they'd be riding ice spiders. But I fucking love to see ice spiders. I think it's possible because in Hardhome, the dude, Laboda was talking about, when he was mocking Jon Snow's for something, he brought up ice spiders. It's like, oh yeah, our people said that they're ice spiders as big as hounds, and like it's bullshit. But I think that was them sort of setting up that it's not, because all these other things people thought were bullshit. People thought the White Walkers were bullshit. People thought the Children of the Forest being alive now was bullshit. So I think him saying that, I'm hoping, I'm going to set that to hope that it's a setup that we will fucking get ice spiders in the show. And they better fucking do it. It'd be awesome. Okay, so Anders Ingard, is Euron Dragonbinder the real deal? Maybe. I don't know. That's another one. I'm not as well versed on Euron as some other Song of Ice and Fire fans. He was never a particularly favorite character. I like him fine, but I didn't like study his chapters like I did some other characters. So I think he'll be the real deal to a degree. Like some ways yes, some ways no. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to elaborate. Just can't think of it. So Corey Link, Helen Reed will first appear in a flashback, then it will fade to a current time of Helen. Oh, thank you. No, obviously. I think the question that Don the Kraken Witt asked was how Helen Reed will appear in the books. And I think he was talking about present time rather than just flashback. But in the show, we're going to see some Helen Reed in the Tower of Joy scene, season 6, definitely. And they have this actor who Watchers on the Wall said was cast. They didn't say who was cast for, but he has the Helen Reed look. So I think that's him. We'll definitely see him in the flashback. But as for when he'll first appear in present times in the books, I'm still, no clue. The vintage guitarist, Ice Dragons. I'm going to say no. And Corey Lang says Grumpkins, also no. I think Grumpkins is the go-to, even though they have set up this, the same thing with the Ice Spiders. They have set up Grumpkins because Tyrion, said that a lot throughout season 1 and season 2. Oh, Grumpkins and Starks, and Cersei said it a couple of times. That was just them mocking and being dicks. So I don't think we'll see. I think Grumpkins is one thing that actually is the red herring that doesn't exist. These other things do, though. And Ice Dragons, a lot of people are excited about Ice Dragons. I don't think we will. I think a lot of people love to see it, but I just don't see it happening. I think Ice Spiders are more likely than Ice Dragons. I mean, it's possible, but I'm sort of leaning towards no. Okay, so let me move on to the next question. This is going on for a lot longer than I thought it would, but that's all good. So next question is Big Kev, 619SD. What are the chances of Clegane Bowl? So you think it will happen, and who would win? Thanks, and keep up the good work, and congrats to your channel getting the love it needs. Well, thank you. Glad it's getting more subscribers as well. It's all good. So Clegane Bowl. I did a whole video. Well, actually, it wasn't a whole video, but I did this video called My Opinion on Game of Thrones Theories. I did it roughly about a year ago, like 8 months ago or something, and you should check it out if you haven't seen it. I talk about all sorts of Game of Thrones theories and my opinions on it. I got a lot of disagreement on it because I put down some theories people love, but I was just giving my opinions is what I think. And my original intention was to call that video Clegane Bowl and Other Theories. So Clegane Bowl is what inspired me to make that video. So the first 2 theories I tackle in that video is Gravedigger, because you have to get to that first before you can get to Clegane Bowl, and then Clegane Bowl. Gravedigger, of course, totally believe that. Absolutely. Clegane Bowl, not for a second. I am totally against Clegane. Well, at least for Cersei's trial by combat. Because I think that's way too early. And it has the question who you think will win. That's the problem. The fucking Franken Mountain would kill. The Hound's injured. He's all peaceful and he's all like, ooh, don't kill. So the Hound would get slaughtered. I don't think it would be. So that's why I don't think it's going to. I mean, some people argue, oh, the Hound's going to find some trick to bring down the reanimation or something. I suppose that's possible. But I think it's too early. I think Clegane Bowl could theoretically happen. I'm not going to shut it down further down the line, like last season, last book, sometime they could meet in combat, and it's leading to maybe them both dying, and like sort of like a mountain red viper type deal, except for with the hound being the last one to go down. So the hound kills the mountain, but in the process dies from his wounds. That sounds cool, yeah. So I could think that it could happen, but way down the line, not Cersei's trial by combat. I think Cersei's trial by combat, definitely not Clegane. I'm totally against that. Yeah, so let's see. Down the Cracking Wit. If they made a spinoff from his other short stories in the Song of Ice and Fire world, which would you want, excluding Robert's Rebellion and Dunk and Egg? Well, I think it's going to be Robert's Rebellion, but you say excluding those. Which would I want? Aegon's Conquest. I'm tempted to say The Long Night, because The Long Night would be cool. Or like Valyria. I'm actually a huge fan, as far as history goes, I'm a huge fan of the Ronar, like their sort of quest to Dorne. I think that would make a really cool series, but I'm actually going to go with Aegon's Conquest first. I think that would be more likely than the Ronar, because no one really cares about the Ronar. I just think it's a really cool story. But yeah, because that's one of the history. I know there are other moments, but that's one of them that we know a lot about and have really strong characters that would be cool to know more. So if we're excluding Dunk and Egg and Robert's Rebellion, yeah, that's Aegon's Conquest, I think I'll have to say. So the White Wolf of Stark. Besides the photo of Jon Snow, has there been any information for Jon Snow filming, or can they keep filming inside shoots a secret? There's been tons of Kit Harington spottings. Like he's spotted around Belfast, around the areas of Game of Thrones filming a ridiculous amount of times the past couple of months. So it's not even in question. I mean, there's no fucking way he's just visiting the set. He's there all of the time. There's just so many sightings. It's not even funny. Watchers on the Wall calls it the worst kept secret. So yeah, I think they are sort of trying to hide him. I mean, we don't get that many photos even on Watches the Wall, even of exterior shoots. We get a few like really long shots here and there. So it's not really surprising that we only got the one of Jon Snow so far. I don't think that means anything. I think he's still doing a lot of filming inside and out. Okay. Michael King, who do you think would best benefit the kingdom as king or queen? Well, if you know, my How Game of Thrones End video, I said I think Sansa will sit on the throne, but do I think she would best benefit? I don't know. It depends. She has to do some character growth, because I don't know. She's been growing from a character ever since the beginning of the series. Like beginning, she's like a dull-eyed idiot. And I know a lot of people, particularly like show watchers who haven't read the book, hated Sansa in the first 3 seasons. Like, fuck Sansa Stark. But that's the good thing about her, is that she's grown as a character so much. So I see potential in her to becoming someone who could rule the kingdoms best. But if I were going to go with right now, I'm going to have to be fanboyish and say either Jon Snow, Tyrion, or Daenerys. And either out of those 3, I think Tyrion. He'd never be king, though. He would never be king because people wouldn't trust him. Like, he'd be better as a hand who props up the king. But he's so... Maybe the best thing would be Daenerys as the king and him as their hand. So Daenerys would have, but she's a bit, you know, she has the makings of a benevolent ruler, but not all the smarts. Tyrion has the smarts, so the two of them would complement each other. So no one would accept Tyrion as king, so he wouldn't make an effective king in that way. But if he was actually pulling the powers behind the strings for Daenerys, because he's a really smart guy, I think that's your best case scenario. But that's for immediate, like, if we were going to say immediately. Down the line, I think Sansa's going to grow into it. Okay. Woo, lots of comments. I don't know. I'll be able to get through them all. Don Willie, I'd love to see the Blackfire Rebellion as a mini series. Blackfire, yeah, that's pretty good. I would, but I think there's more other ones I'd rather see. Jean-Philippe Poirier, probably pronouncing that wrong. Do you think we will ever see a Trial of the Seven in the show? If so, who could it involve? Wait for my... Actually, if you watch Don Willie, you know, he's in the chat room now. He did a video about his theories on what's going to happen with Cersei's trial by combat. And in the comment section for that video, I made a comment. You can check that out and you'll get my... Basically, so I think it would be cool if Cersei's trial by combat was a trial by seven with the Mountain and no one wanted to fight with the Mountain. So it's just Franken Mountain versus 7 guys and he takes them all out. That would fucking be awesome. So yeah, that's sort of my answer to that question. And then Don the Kraken Wit, does Val calling Crasher's baby monsters and Cold Hands saying your monster to Bran have any relevance considering that White Walker takes the babies and all? No, I don't think so. I think Val is sort of basing it because I think she knows somehow. I think there's like a legend that because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've revealed yet in the books that Crasher's babies are being turned into White Walkers. I think that's a show only affair so far, but I do think that is the case in the books as well. And I think Val somehow knows about this, and her saying that is kind of hinting at that. That's the book's way of sort of letting you know. So yeah, I think that's the relevant. And Cold Hands saying your monster to Bran. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. All right, so let me try to get through this. I'm getting lots of questions. All right, Corey Link, in the books, will Tyrion ever reclaim Sansa as his wife? Yes. In my How Game of Thrones Will End Updates video, I said I thought they would remarry, and I think that does apply to the books as well as the show. That's just my guess. In fact, more to the books, because in the show, she fucking married Ramsay, so that's another person. But anyway, I think both of them. So yeah. Okay. So Andrew Zigard, John being alive is like not Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness, not Biofield in Spectra. Nobody buys it. Absolutely. I mean, I've been saying this. Me and my brother have been saying this for day one. I've used that not Khan example. Absolutely. The White Wolf of Stark. Do you believe the Battle of the Bastards has the potential to be better than Blackwater and the Battle of the Wall? Definitely Battle on the Wall. I'm already convinced it's going to be better Battle of the Wall. But I love Battle of Blackwater, especially the way it was done in the show. So, yeah. I think it has the potential. Yes, it has the potential to be better than Blackwater. But will it? That remains to be seen. We'll have to see. And there's Igard. Him being dead, of course. Yeah. Got that. Michael King, thanks for the answer. Keep up the good work. Your videos are awesome. Made me decide to read the book and never look back. Thank you. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I inspired you to read the books. But it's funny because I focus a bit more on the show. It's okay. Christine Turner, I really hate that Val isn't in the show. Yeah, I kind of knew that she wouldn't be. Like when I did my season 5 predictions that I based off of Dance with Dragons, and I knew that she wouldn't be in the show. It just, well, obviously they would have to set up for her earlier, and they didn't. But even that being said, forgetting about that, it's just too many characters, too complicated. I mean, there's some really good characters, like Val's a great character, some other great characters that the show cut out, but I don't begrudge them from doing that. I totally understand that you have to consolidate characters, and I think she's just one of those characters that need to be consolidated. But damn, I wish they would have done something with the Spearwise, even if they didn't have the other Spear. Well, I'm talking not about Val, but Spearwise. But again, they could have, even not having Spearwise in the show, they could have used Brienne or someone else as a surrogate, have someone else take their place. Maybe they might still do that in season 6. I don't know, but I'm kind of pissed. They kind of fucked up the Winterfell storyline for season 5. So, Christina Turner, do you think Aegon is real? And if he is a black dragon, not a red, can he be one of the three heads? Okay, you must be joining late because you asked me that question in the comment, and I've actually already answered. So, once I finish the video, you can go back and watch that answer. But short answer, no, I don't think he's real. I think he's a Blackfire. But you can go back once this video is done. Go back to where I answered this, and you'll get more into it. Corey Lang, this was very entertaining. Thanks, Grove. Thank you, John Alexander. How many seasons do you think it will take to get to the end of the series? 8. Because I mean, they have this again. They haven't said outright how many seasons it's going to be. There's no official word yet. But what Michael Lombardo from HBO said seemed to indicate that there will be 8, at least 8. And I don't think there's going to be 9, honestly. I think they can do an 8. 8's a good number. When people were saying 7 before, I was highly skeptical. If you watch this video I did like a year ago, I was saying the chances of there only being 7 seasons is the chances of aliens landing on Earth are more likely than the chances of there only being 7 seasons. I was totally against 7 seasons because they would have to rush through the story so fucking much. But in season 5, they did rush through it a lot faster than I thought they would. But I still think 7 that's still stretching it. I mean, there's just too much to go. I mean, there's just too much. But a lot of people were saying that my season 6 predictions, especially my brother, are moving too fast, especially me predicting that Daenerys will leave for Westeros in episode 7, which I admit is unlikely and it's wishful thinking. It's probably not going to happen. But I'm making all these fast predictions because I do think they're doing 8 seasons. And I think they need to, even to do 8, they need to move things along and speed things up. And I think they're going to do that after seeing what they did with season 5, which is leaving out a bunch of book stuff, is what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to come to it much faster than the books, which they're going. The books are going to have a lot more side plots, a lot more characters, a lot more information, and shows. I think since they're running down towards the end of the show, they're looking at condensing the characters and storylines rather than adding more. So, yeah, I think it's going to be 8. Possibly 9, not 10. Dan and Dave specifically said they did not want to do 10. So it also makes me think that 9 might be pushing it. So 8 sounds like a good number to me. Okay. Let's get to the next question. Those are all my Game of Thrones questions, actually. So I have going to move on to other topics now. Well, let me actually first talk about the Emmys, because while those who've been with my channel when they're like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, I made a sort of video blog type video where I made a rant about Game of Thrones at the Emmys. This was before the Emmys, of course, when the nominations were just announced. And I was saying, what's her name? Cersei Lannister. Total brain farting an actress name at the moment. Someone in the chat's going to tell me. Lena Headey. Yeah, Lena Headey. That she deserved to win Best Actress, and that was the only Emmy that I cared about. Like, I didn't care if they won Best Show. I didn't care if they won like Best Writing or anything else. That's the only one that I absolutely cared about, and they had to win. And ironically, it's practically the only one they didn't win. It's like the universe heard me and like laughed in my face. It's like, they're going to win every other award except for that one. So I said in that video, I thought it would be total Emmys would be complete, total joke if Lena Headey didn't win. So do I take that back, seeing how good Game of Thrones did otherwise? Answer is yes and no. Kind of. It does. I do have to give them credit for giving them Best Show and all this other stuff, but I'm sorry, Peter Dinklage did not deserve it this year. He deserved it last year. Totally robbed. I know Breaking Bad's awesome. Aaron Paul's awesome. He was totally robbed. That you watch this fucking trial scene, that deserved an Oscar, let alone an Emmy. So total bullshit he didn't win. It's almost just as bad that Lena Headey didn't win. She so much deserved it more than the woman from Orange is the New Black. Orange is the New Black isn't even that good anymore. The 3rd season kind of sucked. That character that the actress won for, they kind of ruined her writing. And it's like, award shows love to when people play, and I think the movie Tropic Thunder made fun of this, but they love it when people play mentally disabled or mentally retarded people. They love to give actors awards. So that's all this was. Oh, she's playing someone mentally deficient. Let's give her an award. She did not deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm not being racist. It has nothing to do with her race. She's a good actor. Like the actress who won, the black actress who won, I saw some show she was in. Totally deserved it. Lena Headey is like 50 times better. She deserved it a lot more. So the Emmys are still kind of shit. I mean, they should have given Best Supporting Actor to Jonathan Banks. He actually deserved it more than Peter Dinklage this year. I know it's blasphemy for Game of Thrones sake. Peter Dinklage is awesome, but season 5 wasn't his best season. He deserved to win for season 4. Fuck! That was his best season. Season 5, he was just moderate, where Jonathan Banks, just Better Call Saul, just totally killed it. Totally deserved it. So I think the Emmys are a bit screwed up. It's all about politics rather than what's better. So I'm kind of sticking by, even though Game of Thrones killed it, I'm kind of sticking by my statement that the Emmys are bullshit. And I am actually later this week going to make a video making fun of the fact that Peter Dinklage didn't win in season 4, which he totally fucking deserved. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments saying, oh, can you say that he won in season 5 and Game of Thrones killed in season 5? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't excuse the fact that Peter Dinklage, bar none, deserved to win in season 4. All right, so let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Okay, Christina Turner, if Dany doesn't head to Westeros this season, I'm going to go crazy. Me too. She has to at least leave by the end of the season. I know that's what my brother's predicting. I think that's pretty possible. But yeah, I think I feel the same way. Okay, Don the Kraken Wit, quotation marks. I'm a dude dressed as a dude disguised as another dude. What's that from? That sounds so familiar. You have to tell me where that's from. I don't really get that. Okay, so if you have any more questions for Game of Thrones, you can ask. I will answer, but I am going to move on to other topics now. What do you mean? Oh, of course, Tropic Thunder. Duh, because I brought that up. What do you mean, new people? Best movie ever. Yeah, I actually didn't like it that much. I mean, I'm not a huge Ben Stiller fan or Jack Black fan. I really don't like their movies, but that one was okay. I didn't hate it. It was all right. But yeah, that line, the couple lines like, what do you mean, you people? That was funny. Anyway, let me move on to other topics. But if you still have Game of Thrones questions, just go ahead and ask them. I'll answer. But let me move on to Star Trek, because I actually got a Star Trek question. I was so proud. So an answer from Brock Muller, I think. What are your feelings about the character differences between the Next Generation cast of the TV show and the movies? Okay, so I guess this question is sort of asking me like how the characters were portrayed, the main cast, as opposed to the show, as opposed to the movies. And here's the thing. This is why I think Next Generation is a better TV show than the original series, but the original series is a better movies than the Next Generation movies, if that makes sense. It's because the Next Generation cast is more of an ensemble cast, and you can't service them in the movie format, and that's why the movies, and plus the movies are trying too hard to appeal to mass audiences. And all 4 of those movies, except for maybe Insurrection, which kind of had no redeeming qualities, but all 4 of those Next Generation movies could have been good, but they had too many, oh, look how cool I am moments that kind of fucked it up. Like First Contact shouldn't have done time travel. That they should have focused on the board. They should have devoted more time to it. It just felt really rushed and all over the place. Generations should have left out the whole Kirk storyline, just focused on a Next Generation theme story, because it had elements that could have been good, but the Kirk thing fucked it up. Nemesis, great. That's my favorite Next Generation movie. I just did a video about it. I know a lot of people disagree, like my brother totally hates it. I think it's a great sort of adversarial thing, but they fucked it up with bad music and too many action scenes and trying to be too much like Wrath of Khan. Be your own thing. You could have made a good story. There's a good story to have there, I think. I disagree with my brother in this. Still a good story to be had, regardless of that. So the problem with Next Generation, getting back to the question, the problem with the cast in the films is you only get, like, Picard is serviced well, I believe. I think they expand on his character more than they did in the show. So I think that he is serviced well in the films, but not many other people. Data would be the next one. They kind of serviced him well, but they kind of fucked it up throughout the progression of the movies, because they introduced his emotion chip and Generations, and that was pretty cool. But then First Contact, they introduced this thing he can just turn it off. And that's bullshit. That they clearly made it in Generations that he couldn't turn it off, but then they realized, oh shit, we turned Data into a totally different character now that he has emotions. We don't like that. We want to bring back the old Data, so let's make up this excuse that he can turn it off. So he was still acting like old Data, and then they fucking doubled down on that in Insurrection, where he forgot to bring his emotion chip. Bullshit! In Generations, they made it clear that the emotion chip was integrated into him, and they couldn't get it out. He forgot to bring it behind. Oh, yeah, there's a total... The Insurrection just wanted the stupid storyline with Data acting like an android, fucking around with a kid. So they're just like, let's forget about the whole emotion chip. And then with Nemesis, they just pretend it didn't exist. Emotion chip? What emotion chip? This doesn't exist. Nemesis did that a lot, though, with a lot of things. So yeah, they did service Data a lot in those movies. Like, he had a good plot line in First Contact, but overall they kind of fucked that. But all the other characters in the films, like I said, it's an ensemble cast, and the film format didn't work well for them, and they couldn't service them, so they came off as kind of two-dimensional, which is why I say the original series works better as films, because, and this is why it didn't work that well as a show, because they don't have an ensemble cast of characters for them. You know, Scotty's cool, he's saying you can't do it anymore, you know, that's cool to see, but he's not really a well-developed character. There's just Kirk's fucking coy. That's it. Scotty would be the next one that's kind of developed, but the other ones are just like faceless background schmoes, like Sulu, Chekhov. Everyone thinks they're cool, but they're just two-dimensional cutouts, and that's why they worked better as films, because in like The Voyage Home, it was easier to service. Like, they serviced all those characters in that film, and it was easier to do that because they weren't that well developed in the first place, so it's easier to present an ensemble cast. So that's why I think it worked better for films, and The Next Generation kind of failed. I mean, there is a way you can do ensemble cast movies like Lord of the Rings, but you have to be very skilled at it, and Next Generation writing crew just was not up to it. So yeah, I guess that's my answer. Let's see what's going on in chat. Corey Link, now that Mickey Mouse owns Star Trek and Star Wars, will they ever intersect? Does Mickey Mouse own Star Trek? I thought it was still Paramount that did it. I know, like, you got the crossover with J.J. Abrams and the creative team, but I didn't hear anything about Disney buying out Star Trek. Anyone? I don't know. Okay, so Bruno Ishii, I probably fucking pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Bruno. Any comments about Ashai? Well, I'm not a fan. Like, again, if you watch my theory video on my opinion on popular Game of Thrones theories, I'm not a fan of the theory that Danny's going to circumvent the globe and go to Ashai. I know a lot of people are saying they think Danny's going to go to Ashai because the Quaith seems to be pushing her there, but I don't think we will ever see Ashai. I think it would be cool, but I don't think they will. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here, but I think George R.R. Martin specifically said that we will not see Ashai in the books. I don't know, that could be wrong. It would be a cool place to see, but I think they're kind of leaving it more open-ended as a mystery. But I do think it would be cool to see. All right, so let me get to another Star Trek. I'm out of the questions that were asked me, but I'm just going to make up my own topics now. I'm going to talk about Star Trek a bit more and go on to the new Star Trek series. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I'm going to do a video in a couple days, maybe tomorrow actually, about this. But I just wanted to give a few sort of, because when I did my announcement video, that was like on the cuff sort of thing. So I just wanted to make a few like refinements to those thoughts that I made in that video, which is in that video I said I thought it would be towards the end of 2017, but they actually announced it will be January of 2017. So it's actually a little more than a year that the next Star Trek series is going to come out, which they must get started on it right away because there's a lot of pre-production work to do and creating a TV series, and then you have to film it and everything. So they're probably going to get started on it pretty soon. So I would imagine that within a couple of months, we'll be getting some more information about it, where it's going to be set. And as my brother pointed out to me in an email, that Alex Kurtzman, who's going to be running the show, who everyone, you know, any article will just say, oh, he was the writer of Into Darkness and Star Trek 2009 or producer, whatever. But that's not where I know him from. I was trying to figure out where I knew him from because that name sounded familiar. And it was Fringe, because I'm a fan of the show Fringe, and he apparently was the showrunner, or at least the creator of Fringe. I mentioned before he was the creator of Fringe, but that's where I know he's the Fringe guy. So I suppose that means the first 3 seasons of the new Star Trek series will be awesome, and after that it's going to jump the shark and suck. Well, no, hopefully it won't follow the same thing Fringe did. But, you know, I think more, when I was talking about different possibilities of what I think the show might be about, I think it's a lot more likely that the show is going to be set in the reboot. It's a reboot, people doing it. I think either way, it's definitely going to be original series. I think they seem to be pulling that way, which, again, it's fine if they need. I think that might be cool though, because we only got 1 TV series that was set in the original series. We got 3 set in Next Generation times, 1 set like before original series time, but we didn't get like to flesh, because the Next Generation time period was totally fleshed out. So it'd be cool, actually, maybe, even though I don't like it as much, but to flesh out the original series and to actually see villains like Tholians and the Gorn and some of these other people done with proper technology. I know Enterprise tried to do that in 1 episode, actually shows these people proper technology, but even then, that was back like 2004, 2005 by now, and even then they could do it even better. So I'm not opposed to it being original series. I'm not opposed to it being reboots, even though I hate the reboot universe because fucking Kirk got promoted to captain instantly from cadet bullshit. But I'm not opposed to them doing, the TV series in the reboot universe, because it might be cool to say that actually might me appreciate the movies better, because part of the problems I have with the reboot films is that they don't have a realistic universe behind it. It just seems like chaotic and nothing. There's no really set world. It's not believable. So if they made a TV series that was able to go into more detail and set a believable universe, then that might actually go ways to make me like the reboot films better. So I'm not totally opposed to it. We'll see. But I heard someone come up with this idea that maybe the new Star Trek show could be done in a Game of Thrones type fashion, that is where you have different storylines rather than it being a typical Star Trek show where it's just the starship, just the captain, just the crew. We see them go on adventures every week. That's a bit boring. What if we had like a captain and a crew, and then we had like a colony, and then we had an alien ship, and then we had like an alien world, another ship, and it just goes back and forth between the different storylines, kind of like Game of Thrones? That would be fucking awesome, and you could do it in like a serialized fashion. That would be amazing. I would love that so much. If I'm kind of really hoping to do something creative, something new like that, rather than just another starship, just another crew. Oh, let's make this weird alien. Oh, let's make this person black. Oh, let's make this person gay. All well and good, but you got to do more than that. I want to see something totally different they haven't done with Star Trek. So that's what I'd love to see. So how are we going in the chat room? Let's see. Don Willie, Noah Shine, The Song of Ice and Fire said George R. R. Martin. Okay, so he did say Noah Shine. Okay. And then John Alexander, are you a Mystery 3000 fan? Not really. I've seen the show a couple times. It's pretty good. I usually don't have the patience to watch it because It's just, I don't know, it's something you kind of have to turn your mind off. But here's the thing, I'm more of a fan of that than I am of watching like horrible movies, because I know I've had many friends who love watching like Ed Wood movies and other Sharknado and bullshit like that just because they laugh at it. I never got my kick out of watching films like that. So I prefer to have the two robots there, because whenever I watch a film like that, I'm like, where are the robots? I need the robots there to crack a joke. So I prefer watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 than those. And no, those people I'm talking about, they hated Mystery Science Theater 3000 because they like to crack their own jokes, which I guess it becomes like a social thing. But I get bored with that personally. I would prefer Mystery Science. So I've seen a couple of it, but not a whole lot. All right, so let me talk about The Leftovers. Now I'm really going to turn everyone off. I don't know if everyone's seen The Leftovers. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend it. The first season was kind of okay. It was pretty good. Pretty good, actually. The second season is turning out to be fucking awesome. But I wanted to talk about it because I was watching a recap for season 2, and one of the people there, it was like, semi-professional sort of thing. She's going to take over TV fights. I can't remember her name. It's like Roxy. She's going to be on Screen Junkie's new thing, taking over TV fights. Anyway, she was on this thing, and she was saying Leftovers is the best show on TV. That is a bold statement. And it's not a very popular show. I think a lot of people don't. I think it is a highly underrated show. So I'm telling you right now, if you have not seen it, you should. Even if you hate Lindelof, I know there's one guy in here, I think it was Chrissy555 or whatever, he's a fucking Lindelof. He sucks. If you don't like Lindelof, then you won't like the show. Yeah, okay. But other than that, I think it's a really good show. Season 2 is turning, but it's only halfway through, so it could end up sucking towards the end. So it's a bit too early to say season 2 is better than season 1, but so far I would say it is one of the best shows on TV. But it's not better than Game of Thrones. Definitely not. What else have we got in the chat here? Okay. And another show people are saying is the best show is Mr. Robot. That's another show that I'd recommend watching. It's a pretty good show, but I don't think it's the best show. I think they make too many blunders. I really love it, though. I think it's one of the best shows. It's one of my favorites on at the moment. And again, I did a quick review, spoiler-free review of that. You should check out if you haven't seen it. Go watch Mr. Robot. It's good, but it has some improving to do. Like it fucks up from time to time. And then, okay, finally, I'll just mention The Walking Dead. Here's the thing. I get several requests on my channel for me to do The Walking Dead reviews, and I actually do plan on doing episode reviews in 2016. Sorry, so for the back half of season 6, I do plan on doing individual episode reviews. But here's the thing, a lot of people won't like what I have to say about The Walking Dead, or a lot of Walking Dead fans, because I'm not a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I like it. I like this show, and I watch it every week. But here's the thing, I'm inherently biased against zombie movies. I hate zombie movies. I am just so sick of zombie movies. And so people had to convince me to watch The Walking Dead. They're like, no, it's not a typical zombie movie. Just watch it and you'll like it. And they were right. I did like it. It's a testament to the show that I did manage to like it, even though I fucking hate zombies. I'm just so sick to hit death with zombie movies. So I did like it. But I got a bit tired. I was getting a bit tired of it. It just came to stream long and long. Like, I thought season 5 was the best season ever. So it totally rejuvenated my interest in it. But season 6, a lot of people are ranting and raving about it like it's awesome. I don't think it sucks. I'll say that. I don't think it sucks. But I also don't think it is quite as good. I am getting a bit tired. Now I'm going to say something truly controversial. I'm going to get tons of hate, tons of what the fuck is wrong with you, but I am going to say it. When season 6 of The Walking Dead first started, when I was watching that episode, the thing going through my mind was, I wish this was Fear the Walking Dead. I actually would rather be watching Fear the Walking Dead now rather than The Walking Dead. I know everyone hated Fear the Walking Dead. People were like, "Oh, fuck, this show sucks." I actually liked it a lot, and I think the reason for that is because I hate zombie movies. Because someone once described Fear the Walking Dead as a zombie show for people who hate zombie shows, and that's probably why I like it. Because when people would be like, there'd be an episode of Fear the Walking Dead, we didn't see any zombies. I'm like, good. That's why I liked it. Didn't waste the time with zombie. But seriously, the reason why I think I was a bit more attached to Fear the Walking Dead is because you had 6 characters who I thought were really, in those 6 episodes, really well developed, really interesting characters. Whereas The Walking Dead, particularly at this point in time, has way too many fucking characters, and that's really the thing that kind of threw me out of it. Is that there's just too many people, and they can't really service them all. I mean, they service some of them. Rick, I was getting sick of Rick. By season 3, I was like wanting Rick to die. I'm starting to like him a bit more now. I think they're doing a bit better with Rick now. But and Morgan, of course, he just had his own episode. It was awesome. Fleshed him out. But some of these other characters I love. Like I love Maggie, I love Glenn, I love Sasha. But they're all two-dimensional. They're not as sort of fleshed out. It's harder for me to feel emotionally attached to a show where characters are just killed off. Like the Screen Junkies did the honest trailer of Walking Dead. They said there's better job security on Game of Thrones than there is on The Walking Dead. And I totally agree. I know that was inherent to the comic book. Fans of the comic book won't care about this because they love it. They don't care the fact that so many characters are dying. In fact, they expect it to happen because it's what happened in the comic books. But me, I can't get attached when they just introduce Beth. She had all these episodes. She had the story arc. Ooh, what's happening to Beth? And we finally get her back. And then she dies. What the fuck? I just wasted all my time being invested in her. And then they just kill her off. Bullshit. So I still like The Walking Dead. Don't get me wrong. I like what they're doing this season. I'm just not as crazy goo goo gaga over it as a lot of other people seem to be. But I'll keep watching, and I will do a review on that when it's over. Okay, let's see if there's anything else going in the chat. Christina Turner says, love Leftovers. Cool. It's awesome. And also says, I was hoping you would bring it up. Hello, LOL. Yeah, not just really quick bringing it up, just telling you that you should watch it. I could go into my theories about it, but I'm sensing there's probably a lot of people watching the video who haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil anything. So I'll just say go watch it. And you do have to keep in mind, because there's a lot of people in season 1 who are getting so frustrated because they're like, oh, I want this to be answered. Here's the first thing you have to know, okay, because the show is about the departure. So it's about an event where a bunch of people just mysteriously disappear instantaneously, 2% of the world's population. Here's the thing you need to understand when you're watching this show. You're never going to get that answered, okay? That's the first thing you need to accept, because there's still people to this day who want to have this answered, and it's not going to be answered. So you need to accept that and get over it. And once you do, you find it's a really good character show. And they do introduce other mysteries that are just weird and just make no sense. But it's fine. You just don't care about that. They all enhance the character stories. And yeah, some people are saying it's the best show on television, which is, yeah, I definitely say that. Okay, so less activity in the chat now. I'm probably been going on for a while, sort of turn people off and I stopped talking about Game of Thrones, but that's okay. As I said, I like to talk about other shows on my channel. But anyway, I'm going to bring this to a close. I'm just going to say, even though I'll talk about this more when we get closer to the end of the year, I will say at the moment, because, you know, I will bring up one thing. I was looking on the internet and there's this YouTube wiki, and I don't know how often it's used or how many people actually look at it. It's probably not very popular, but I noticed someone had me listed on this wiki, and it said Enchantment of Eternity. He does Star Trek, Game of Thrones, and other things when he feels like it. And I got a big kick out of that. Is that when it's not, I actually have like everything planned. I have like a pattern. So it's just like, oh, I feel like doing something else. But I know it would seem that way to other people. It just seems like I'm just putting out shit at random. But I'm going to try to focus a bit more next year. See, I have all these back catalog videos I've been planning on doing for like a year. And so I'm trying to get through them this year. And next year I'll still be doing a few of these back catalog ones, but I want to focus more on episode reviews. I'll continue all my Game of Thrones theories videos and prediction videos. In fact, I might increase some of my Game of Thrones analysis videos. And I'll definitely like pay full attention to it once it's on. But I also want to focus more, and I'll keep up my Star Trek as well, like the episode request reviews and stuff like that in the top 10s. That will keep going. But I want to do more episode reviews of shows that are currently on, which is what I'm saying. At the moment, I only do the leftovers after like 3 episodes. I only do The Walking Dead or Heroes Reborn and stuff like that after the season is finished. Where next year, I'm going to start doing individual episode reviews to a lot of shows. X-Files is making a comeback. I'm going to do that. Better Call Saul, Vikings, Orphan Black, Walking Dead, like I said, the second half of the season. So I'm going to try next year. My Enchantment of Eternity is going to focus more on new shows and episode recaps and reviews. But I'll still do Game of Thrones theories. I'll still do Star Trek episode reviews. And I'll still do Game of Thrones predictions and all other stuff. But yeah, so for this year, I'm trying to get through this back catalog so I can get that mostly out of the way anyway. I know I'm not going to get through it all, so I can focus more on new episodes coming out. Okay, so that is it. Thanks a lot for joining me. Thank you a lot for if you've lasted this while, even after I stopped talking about Game of Thrones. Thanks for sticking around. And yeah, just see you guys later. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hold on, let's see. I got a few more comments. Christina Turner, I think the fact that they aren't going to answer it works. I totally agree. I assume you're talking about leftovers. Totally agree that. And she also says, unlike Resurrection, which it didn't do well. Yeah, no, didn't. Okay, so the vintage guitarist, thanks. Very interesting. Hope you do it again soon. Yeah, this was fun. It was good to interact with everyone, so I do hope to do this again. This is probably going to be too long of a video for most people to watch, but whatever. Anyway, this is me signing off now. Thanks a lot for joining.